Week 6 is finished. We're on to Week 7. What's going on, BLV and football fans? It's Mitch here, back with another week of NFL Power Rankings. In this video, I rank every single NFL team from the worst, number 32, to the best in the NFL, who is number 1. This week, it's an interesting list. It's interesting because I feel like after the Niners lost, the Eagles lost, a lot of good teams lost this week, 2 undefeated teams lost this week. How does that shake up the power rankings at the top? I could see a lot of different people ranking the top 5, the top 10 a lot differently and having different takes. So I want to hear from you guys. How do you see the NFL right now? Who's your top team? Who's your second place? What are your power rankings? Let me know how they compare to mine, where I'm right, where I'm wrong. Let me know where you rank your favorite team in the NFL. Are they one of the worst teams? Are they the Patriots? And then maybe they're a better team. Let me know where you rank them right now, entering week number 7. Gronk spiked the like button. Don't forget to subscribe for weekly power rankings just like this. Here are my honest opinions on your favorite team. Let's go. Let's begin with the worst team in the NFL, a team yet to win a game this year. That is the Carolina Panthers. Carolina actually looked like early in that game against the Miami Dolphins that they had a little bit of juice. They were maybe going to take it to the Dolphins in Miami. But all of a sudden, they were outscored 35-0 to make it 35-14. The game ends up being 42-21 thanks to a Mike White pick 6. I mean, they even got a pick 6 in there, and they still failed to cover a massive number. So the Carolina Panthers, man, they are a bad football team. I think in terms of quality, they are the worst team in the NFL. The offense is getting a little bit better. They're a little bit more watchable. Bryce Young is starting to figure out the timing and the pressure of the NFL, being back there and trying to make some of these throws. And every week he does make a couple more throws, but at the same time, it feels like he misses throws too. There was a big play down the left sideline to DJ Chark that he had to connect on. That could have changed the game last week. He wasn't able to. The defense, I've talked about it for weeks, is not the same without the man in the middle, Shaq Thompson, and J.C. Hornet, cornerback. It'll be intriguing to see if this team trades anybody. If they trade like Brian Burns or something, who's been long time on the trade block, it feels like, or at least a potential trade target for a lot of contenders. So look out for that. But Carolina, I just feel bad for their fans because I feel like this is a team that made a massive mistake in trading up for the first pick. And while they did get a quarterback that maybe has some potential, it feels like they could have got a good quarterback without trading away their best receiver, which is definitely a desperation position right now, and they could have still kept their picks for the future, which stinks. So, at number 32, the Carolina Panthers. At number 31, the Chicago Bears. I moved the Bears down not because they lost to the Vikings, but because Justin Fields got hurt. So, just understand that if you're a Bears fan. So, Justin Fields, as much as I say he stinks, he's still better than what they have right now, which is, I think, an undrafted rookie quarterback who's expected to get the start against the Las Vegas Raiders. This is also a team that had maybe their best defensive performance last week, and it didn't matter thanks to 3 turnovers from the offense, 1 from Justin Fields, a fumble for 6, and they played a bad Vikings team, and they were failing to cover that game, getting 2.5 or 3 points at home. That's a sign of a bad football team. So this is a team with a lot of positions of need. They have the draft picks to be able to ensure they have some pretty good players in this draft. But the question will be, is the coach going to be still around? Is the quarterback going to be around? Is the GM going to be around? This might be a complete rebuild once again for the Bears at number 31. At number 30, I moved the Giants up for their impressive performance on the road on Sunday Night Football against the Buffalo Bills. Now, some of this probably has to do with the fact that it was a Tyrod Taylor revenge game, playing his former team that he started for, and actually took the Bills to the playoffs. It's funny because people forget that happened. But yeah, Tyrod Taylor took the Bills to the playoffs once upon a time, before Josh Allen was even there. And then this defense played really well. I actually feel like the Giants defense has been playing well as of late. They've just been overwhelmed by teams getting possession after possession after possession because their offense can't block, their receiving core is suspect, their quarterback play has been below average, and really everything on offense hasn't been working. They get Saquon back last week. Tyrod maybe did a better job of getting rid of the ball, maneuvering behind that offensive line. And the offensive line, I thought, played better in that game against the Bills. Maybe some of it is a beat-up Bills defense. Maybe some of it is the Bills overlooking a bad Giants team. But the Giants kind of looked a little bit more competent this past week, so I have to move them a little bit up to number 30. Big game to show if they can hang around this year against the Commanders next week. At number 29, the Denver Broncos. Broncos were just putrid to watch. I didn't even watch that much of the game on Thursday night because I was at Adam Sandler. But it's still, from the box score, it suggested the Broncos were pretty bad on offense when you don't even throw for 100 yards. I did watch a bit of the first half, and it was just not a pretty watch. They actually had the best defensive performance they've had all year. Justin Simmons certainly helps this unit, but they have very little pass rush. Their linebacker position is exposable, and their defensive backs are solid, but it feels like they need a change on offense. They need something. They need to spark something. Jerry Jeudy, they should trade him, in my opinion. Like, you don't want that guy hanging around your franchise the way he is talking back to Hall of Fame players. You know, you're going to be criticized in the media. You have to be willing to take it. So the Denver Broncos stink. Like, there's nothing else really to say. I'm just intrigued to see where they go from here with Russell Wilson, Sean Payton, with the direction of the offense. I think the biggest misconception about the Broncos this offseason was that they had good weapons and that they had a really good defense. I think neither of those things were true. I nailed that, I feel like. I just felt like Sean Payton would have this overall operation a little bit more respectable, and maybe I gave him too much credit for that. At number 28, my New England Patriots, which some people are going to comment, Mitch, why are they only 28? Why are they not 32? Again, like they haven't moved because everyone behind them pretty much has stunk the same amount. We haven't seen New England play the Broncos or the Giants yet. They will play those teams this year. We haven't seen them play Carolina. We won't see them play Carolina, I don't think. So we won't get a sense of that. But New England is a really bad team. I mean, but they looked more competent against a below average team in the Raiders. That's the thing, right? They got destroyed by the Cowboys. They got destroyed in a bad matchup for them against the Saints. They played a below average team and they looked somewhat respectable. So there's that. But I feel like they just don't have a lot of talent on offense. And that's what's absolutely hurting them right now. Like, it's been hurting them all year. Mac Jones has been super inconsistent. There's times he does make nice throws and nice decisions. There's other times he makes back-breaking decisions and bad throws. There's times he should sit in the pocket and make a throw. There's times where he does sit in the pocket and he takes a bad sack. It's just hard for him to win with very little talent around him. The offensive line, it has to be one of the worst in football. They can't run block. They can't pass block. The right tackle situation is pathetic. Their receiving core is really bad. When Kendrick Bourne is by far your best talent at wide receiver, you have an issue. And Mac Jones is just like, it feels like a guy that's been shaken from the confidence. So I hope that they can continue to look at least like they did this past week where they're not getting blown out. But they just don't have a lot of talent on offense. They're not going to be able to score 20 against most opponents. Defensively, they're still fine. Like, if this defense was on the Chargers, like if this defense was the Chargers defense, the Chargers would be a playoff team. But they don't even, they're not elite anymore. You take away Christian Gonzalez and Matthew Judon from this team, this is an elite defense, and they can't carry this team, which is a problem. And they don't have those guys. They're going to get Jack Jones back, which is nice. But what's going on with this unit in terms of where's Josh Uche being deployed here? I don't understand that. Why is Mapu not playing? Why is Keon White not seeing more time regularly? Why is Miles Bryant still playing above some of these guys at cornerback? Why is Kyle Duggar so invisible out there? There's a lot of questions about that unit as well. And then you talk about a special teams that can't get out of their own way. This is a really embarrassing team. That doesn't mean they're the worst. They're just one of the most embarrassing because they're one of the hardest to watch. They're like the Steelers, except they're worse. It's actually weird. At number 27, the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals got whooped pretty good against the Rams in the second half, but at one point in that game, it was 16-9, and the Cardinals were close to making that a tie game. Cardinals are still competent on offense and defense. They at least come in with a plan that is coherent and makes sense. They don't have a lot of talent, but at least they try hard, and I give them credit for that. There's not a lot else to be said. Dobbs is what he is. The offensive line, I feel like, has consistently been underrated. Marquise Brown's having a good year. Didn't have his best game against the Rams. James Conner, him missing from the backfield has definitely been, a loss, I would say. I give him more credit, I feel like, than I've given him in the past. He's definitely one of those heart and soul players for this team. Defensively, they've been pretty aggressive. That throws opponents off early, and then they're able to adjust late, and that's why I think they're a 3-quarter team instead of a 4-quarter team. And then teams just figure out this team's not that talented. They get through the smoke and mirrors, and they figure it out. But at number 27, the Cardinals. At number 26, the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings, without Justin Jefferson, are a pretty bad football team. It just feels like the offense is stripped away from any explosiveness that they had. Jordan Addison had a good game against the Bears, but right now he's more of a number 2 than a number 1, although he'd be the number 1 on the New England Patriots. There's no denying that. The offensive line, I think, is fairly solid. Cousins is a good quarterback, but he's not one that can carry an awful defense and a subpar running game, which their running game is pretty bad as well. So the Vikings have so many flaws from a roster standpoint. They're going through a rebuild right now. They can beat bad teams. They can't beat good teams. They're at number 26. At number 25, the Tennessee Titans. Titans I moved down significantly because their defense is good, especially against the run. They can at times suffocate the pocket and make it difficult on quarterbacks. And their secondary does make plays, although they give up plays as well. Mike Vrabel's a great coach, and he'll always try to muck up a game and get it in the mud. But if Ryan Tannehill is out for any significant portion of time, Malik Willis is awful. Like, really bad. He takes way too many sacks. He doesn't know what he's looking at half the time. Holds the ball way too long. It feels like they don't have a quarterback without Ryan Tannehill, and they are going to be a disaster from an offensive standpoint. Derrick Henry and Spears, I like in the backfield. I think D-Hop's done some good things. He didn't do much against the Ravens. The offensive line, every time they play a good front, is exposed. And that's the issue with this team. If they had a good offensive line, this would be actually, I think, a borderline playoff team. But they don't have that. Ryan Tannehill has certainly regressed. And even without him, going from Ryan Tannehill to Malik Willis, or we'll see, they might as well play Levis because I don't see the point in playing Malik Willis. The guy is terrible. So at number 25, I have the Tennessee Titans. At number 24, the Washington Commanders. Commanders are 3-3. Can't really figure them out, though. 1 week they're pretty good. 1 week they stink. I felt like they should have lost to Atlanta. They were outgained by about 300 yards in that game. They take too many sacks from the quarterback position and Sam Howell. Feels like Jahan Dotson has been a huge disappointment. Their run game has been a disappointment as of late. The defense has been one of the biggest disappointments in the NFL. If this team had the defense they were expected to have, this would be a borderline playoff team in the NFC. But their defense has not played good at all. So at number 24, they just feel like a bad team that's maybe actually underwhelming. Like they feel on paper they should be a bit better, but they're not. They're a tough team, but they're still 3-3. So they're kind of weird to figure out. They won this week, but I'm talking about them like they lost, right? At number 23, the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts got slaughtered by the Jacksonville Jags. A lot of that had to do with a poor Gardner Minshew performance. Moved the Colts down significantly due to the fact that not only is Minshew now the quarterback, which I think teams are going to be able to game plan for, which is going to take away a lot from this team. I think without Richardson's legs, and even to a certain degree his arm strength to make ad-lib plays and downfield throws, it limits the Colts significantly offensively because Minshew doesn't have a cannon for an arm. He's not necessarily a deep passer or an ad-libber, so to speak. He can scramble a little bit, move a little bit, and throw off platform a little bit, but he's certainly no Mahomes. And they don't have a lot of speed or vertical threat at wide receiver. They're very limited at that position. They don't have a lot at tight end. Their run game is good, but not great, I would say, overall, especially with Minshew in there. So, feels like the Colts offense is going to really hinder their success moving forward when it was really driving their success in the past. And defensively, I think they're solid. They played competitively against Jacksonville. They actually had a good game, but they just couldn't really overwhelm the Jags in any facet. Now, I will say that Grover Stewart is another significant loss. He is a huge part of why this defense is so good because he drives their run defense. And without him, it's going to allow teams to run the ball a bit better, and that's going to open everything up against these weak cornerbacks. So, at number 23, the Colts, I have my concerns moving forward. At number 22, the Green Bay Packers didn't play last week. Hopefully they got healthier through the bye week, and hopefully they figured out what they can do with Jordan Love. He's been struggling as of late, struggled the last couple of games. Can he figure out a successful formula? And who I mean by he is Matt LaFleur for Jordan Love. Can they find a successful formula for Jordan Love to succeed right now? He is young. He's learning. He's certainly not thriving. But if Aaron Jones is healthy, Christian Watson is healthy, the offensive line is mostly healthy, this offense should look a lot better than it has looked. Defensively, they've been playing pretty well, but not good enough to carry this team to an above 500 record. So it comes down to, can LaFleur figure out Jordan Love and what's going to work for him moving forward? If they can, I could see them coming out of this bye a new team. But if they can't, I'll have to rank them even lower than I have them at number 22. Moving to the next team. The Las Vegas Raiders, who beat the Packers and just beat the Patriots, are actually 3-3. They play the Bears this week without Justin Fields. They should move to 4-3 realistically, but this is a team you can't necessarily trust to do that, especially on the road. So, what's up with Jimmy G? Honestly, even if Jimmy G was healthy, I would heavily consider playing O'Connell moving forward. Jimmy G has limited this offense's success for explosive plays, in my opinion. O'Connell has a big arm. That's something I really like about him. And he's a tough quarterback that can do the same as Jimmy G, where he can stand in the pocket and make throws. Will he take a sack or two more than Jimmy? Yes. But I personally believe that putting O'Connell in this offense might be the spark it needs. Brian Hoyer actually played really well, made a really nice downfield throw. I like the involvement of the rookie Tucker to add some speed and vertical threat to the offense. Michael Mayer is getting more involved through Josh McDaniels' play calling, and Jacobs is looking better and better and better. So the Raiders' defense has kept them and won them some games. I feel like the Raiders are an ascending team right now. They're starting to figure out the formula that works, but I feel like the quarterback is actually holding them back more so than the coach. A lot of people blaming Josh McDaniels for the lack of offensive success. I kind of feel like it's quarterback because Jimmy hasn't really done anything for my liking this season. At number 20, the New York Jets. Zach Wilson and the Jets defeat another elite quarterback and make them look like frauds. The Jets beat the Eagles, and an impressive showing no matter what you say about the fluke and fluky nature that it seemed. I will say that the Jets' pass rush is legit. The Jets' ability to play elite defense without their two top corners who are good players speaks volumes. Their linebackers and their safeties fly around the field and make plays. This is an aggressive, fast defense that's tough to play against. I was impressed by their run defense. One of their biggest weaknesses through the first 5 weeks was a strength in week 6 versus the Eagles. And offensively, Zach Wilson is not making mistakes. He's making a few throws every game, and he scrambles and make plays with his legs. You can really not say that Zach Wilson is not playing well right now. I am not even trolling here. Zach Wilson is playing pretty good football, and it's with a bad offensive line, a not very good receiving core, a slow tight end, and a pretty bad play caller. Like, I feel like Zach Wilson would be, a better quarterback in a lot of other scenarios. He's actually in a bad situation, and this team is 3-3. You would have thought that Zach Wilson playing for this team would mean the end of their season, but right now, the way he's playing, I'm not saying he's playing like an MVP, but the guy is playing good enough to take this team to a successful season. So at number 20, Zach Wilson. At number 19, the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are right there with the Patriots as the most boring team in the NFL, but they actually somehow pull off some wins. It's a very unique way to play. Matt Canada needs to be fired. It's even to the degree that they're cheering for it at Penguins games now. He is very bad. Kenny Pickett is not a lot better, but their receiving core right now without Deontay Johnson is really just one guy, and that is clearly Pickett. The run game has gotten a little bit better. The O-line hasn't been a disaster overall. And the defense is really good. They make a lot of plays. They turn the ball over. TJ Watt is an awesome player. I mean, TJ Watt is just different. This guy is crazy. But the Steelers, I think they're going to hang around, as they always do. I don't think they're a playoff team, but they're a pest. That's what they are at number 19. At number 18, the New Orleans Saints. Saints are similar to the Steelers, but it feels like they're a little bit more disjointed, and it feels like inside the building they have less belief than the Steelers. The Steelers feel like a unit as one. Feels like Tomlin has this team just like no matter what the scenario is offensively, they play as a team. The Saints, they're more talented than the Steelers. They have a better quarterback than the Steelers. They have better receivers than the Steelers. They have a better offense than the Steelers, but they just feel like every week it's like they're not getting the result they want. I honestly wouldn't even mind playing Jameis Winston. Derek Carr has been so bad in the red zone. Maybe you give more attempts to Taysom Hill as quarterback in the red zone just to add the mobility element, the surprise element. They need to score in the red zone. It's atrocious. He has not made enough throws. At least Jameis Winston will go out there and throw the football down the field. And it feels like this team actually likes Winston more than Carr. I don't know. I'm just saying. The defense is really, really good, but they can't do it alone. So at number 18, I have the Saints. At number 17, the Atlanta Falcons. Man, they had 500 yards against the Commanders and they lost. I mean, that's all you have to say. Still don't understand why this team isn't in the market for a quarterback. I'm not sure why they haven't called up the Commanders and added Jacoby Brissett to this team. I'm not sure why they haven't made the change from Desmond Ridder. He had a good game the previous week, but other than that, the guy's been a disaster. He's lost them a couple games by himself. They need to make a move. The defense is legitimately good. The run game right now is being really hurt by the fact that no one respects the quarterback. Drake London's a beast. Kyle Pitts is actually playing better. Jonnu Smith's doing his thing. They added Van Jefferson. I like what they've done around the quarterback, but the quarterback is shit. Like, there's no other way to put it. At number 16, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I still have them as the top team in the NFC South. They beat the Saints. This team, I feel like, is a classic average team. They're a good defense. They showed that against the Lions. They played really well. Levante David is still playing at such a high level. He's been a top 3 to 5 linebacker in the NFL this year. Their corners, when they're in the lineup, are legit. Their safeties, led by Winfield, are very good. I love Winfield, man. Devin White's playing better ball this year. And it feels like they're just faster on defense. Their front is better overall. Their run defense is really back. Vita Vea had an awesome game against the Lions. Offensively, their run game still sucks. Even it carried over from last year. It's a little bit better. It's not like they're going for minus every play. And the play calling certainly is a little bit better. With less first down runs for -2 yards. But Mayfield showed up last week where he missed a couple big throws that if Tom Brady's in there, it feels like that game's a one-possession game. The receivers, Mike Evans has been having the dropsies. Chris Godwin's a little bit less involved than you would like. And it feels like they just don't have a lot at number 3 receiver. Gage being out all year has hurt them. And then Cade Otton at tight end is just nothing really. So feels like they need to add like a third receiver or something here. Potentially they could go out and add one through a small trade, something like that. But that might help their team quite a bit to maybe make a push for the playoffs. But at number 16, pretty much the most mid team in the NFL is the Tampa Bay Bucks right now. At number 15, the Houston Texans. The Texans deserve respect. And I feel like they're just undeniable at this point. They beat a good Saints team, a team that has a very good defense. That is the type of team that typically a young quarterback and head coach duo with a lot of young players loses to. A veteran club with a really good defense and a confusing defensive scheme. But CJ Stroud's just that type of dude, man. This guy is already a top 15 to top 12 quarterback in the league. He's just that special. He has the leadership qualities. He has the playmaking qualities. He's making all the throws. I like their receiving core quite a bit. Nico Collins is having a breakout year. The offensive line's getting healthier. They've got to figure out what's going on with Dameon Pierce, but the defense is playing well as well when they need to the most. So at number 15, Texans looking like they could be in a scenario where they're definitely going over their win total, and they're going to be like an 8, 9, maybe even 10 win team if things break their way. They seem to be the team that's going to push Jacksonville, especially because they beat Jacksonville already this year. At number 14, the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers actually kind of impressed me against the Cowboys. I thought it would be a little bit easier for the Cowboys to go into Los Angeles and win that game, but just proves to me that Kellen Moore, pretty good play caller overall. I know he didn't have a superb game against the Cowboys, but he certainly improved this team. I will say that much. Their run game needs to be better than it was against Dallas to give them more balance, especially post Mike Williams. They need more out of the run game, more out of Austin Eckler. They definitely miss Mike Williams. Feels like if they had Mike Williams, they beat the Cowboys, because that's a matchup they could take advantage of. Wherever Gilmore isn't, it felt like they threw, right? And then when they needed it the most, Herbert targeted Gilmore. But, Keenan Allen is still playing at a high level. And Palmer, I really like. I think, on a lot of teams, he's a respectable number 2 on this team, but he's more of a good number 3. You'd like to have another guy there. And it's supposed to be Quentin Johnston, but he appears to be a bust. The tight end position, Everett is fine. They used Parham in a limited role. The O-line actually, I thought, played pretty well in the game, even without Corey Linsley. And the defense, didn't play horrible against Dallas. They actually looked better post-bye. So that's good. There's some promising signs about the Chargers. Herbert has mostly played really well this year. I'm a little bit concerned about the finger issue because he did not play well against Dallas. He choked in the end. He missed a bunch of throws, and there's no denying it. Dak Prescott played, way better than him in that game. So typically you don't get that type of performance from Herbert. Typically he's better than that. I think he will be better than that. So actually, you know what? Despite losing to Dallas, I actually feel better about this team. At number 13, the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams just feel like the Chargers a little bit, where they're flawed defensively in terms of maybe the Chargers have more talent, but the Rams are a better scheme. The Rams, have a couple standout guys. You got to worry about that Kendrick situation. That could certainly be a loss for them. Honestly, if I'm the Rams, I wouldn't even hate going out and maybe adding a marquee player on defense, like an edge rusher or a corner or a linebacker or a safety, anything really. This team could be a playoff team this year. They've not been shy about that in the past. Don't get too expensive. Don't go trade your first round pick. But if you could go out there and really get a solid player, I would look out for it. Offensively, I think they've got a lot of the pieces. They have a really good receiving core with an awesome quarterback. I think that Evans will fill in fine for the next couple of weeks at running back. McVay, and this is one of the best head coach, offensive mind, defensive mind combinations in football, with Raheem Morris and Sean McVay. And then it's led by Aaron Donald and Matthew Stafford, and Cooper Kupp is unstoppable. And, they looked good last week. I feel like the Rams are going to make the playoffs right now, and that's why I say, look out for them to maybe make a move here to spark a little bit of the defense. Maybe they're a team that's in the Brian Burns or the Daniil Hunter sweepstakes. I wouldn't be surprised by that at number 13. At number 12, the Cleveland Browns. The Browns, they're tricky because Deshaun Watson, I'm not sure what's going on with him long term, but their defense is so freaking good. Like, it's hard to rank them because their defense just won them a game against the best team in the NFL, at least arguably in the 49ers. And the offense, they can still run the ball really well. They even did that against the Niners. And they have weapons, right? They have guys that can make plays. Amari Cooper, even with PJ Walker, made a couple key receptions there. A guy like Elijah Moore can make a couple plays. David Njoku can make a couple plays. I like Ford. And, Kareem Hunt actually looked pretty good in that game. So if Deshaun comes back, again, like, this team is a playoff team with Deshaun Watson. And they have an awesome defense. So at number 12, best defense in the NFL. At number 11, Jacksonville Jags, who have also been playing great defense. They get a little bit more out of their offense right now. I like their coaching a little bit more on offense from Doug Peterson. But right now, Trevor Lawrence to me is the most overrated quarterback in the NFL. In every single game they've won, he's done very little. I think he had maybe one good performance this year where I was really wowed by Trevor Lawrence. People are ranking him in the top 5 in the NFL at quarterback. There is no chance for me. Calvin Ridley's too inconsistent in his involvement in this offense. The offensive line is too inconsistent. Those are things that are holding them outside of the top 10, but the defense has, week by week, turnovers, great run defense, speed in the middle of their defense, great corner play. Jacksonville is a good football team. They just need to get more out of what we expected from the offense. At number 10, the Seattle Seahawks. I'm not going to move them too much because I felt like they could have easily beat the Bengals, but their defense really, really wowed me against the Bengals. I felt like their coverage unit, since getting Witherspoon in there, has been a game changer. This guy is unbelievable. He brings a swagger, a confidence, an edge to a football team that you saw on tape coming out of college. There's a reason scouts and myself fell in love with the guy because he does it all. He is Rondé Barber, right? This guy plays nickel, plays outside, plays man, plays zone, tackles, intercepts passes, blitzes. The guy is so good. And then Tariq Woolen can match up with a lot of the bigger outside receivers in football. They've got quality depth when a guy steps down at the outside perimeter corner spot. The linebacker position's been solid all year. The defensive line has been playing better and better and better, and they're getting a spark out of some of these younger guys. Draymond Jones had some key pressures in that game. Jerron Reed. Jamal Adams is even playing decent. Like, the offense, we know what it can do. They need to get healthy on the offensive line. They faced a tough defense last week in Cincinnati where the Bengals have been playing really well on defense. They shut down the Rams at home too, so it was a tough game. It was one that felt like the Bengals were going to step up and win. The Bengals, to me, are a contender. I think Seattle is a good team. I'm not sure they're a contender, but they're a good team. And if their defense can continue to play the way they did, maybe they can be a contender. At number 9, the Cincinnati Bengals, who beat the Seahawks. I moved them up into the top 10. Joe Burrow, I think, looks healthy, and now he's going to have time here to get healthy in a bye week. And then maybe we'll see the Bengals explode post-bye week. Jamar Chase is top 3 or 4 receiver in football. The O-line is hit and miss. Hit and miss for sure. Need to work that out over the bye week. They need to get more out of their running game and Joe Mixon. They need T. Higgins to be healthy to really give that total threat of 2 number 1 receivers. And defensively, love this defensive line. It really has played the way I projected it to. They have one of the low-key best linebacker duos in football. Dax Hill's starting to get it. And, man, Cam Taylor-Britt is playing phenomenal. So, at number 9, the Bengals. At number 8, the Dallas Cowboys, launching themselves into this top 10. I had them, I think, around 7 or 8 last week. But there's things I really liked about the game against the Chargers. First of all, I like the poise from Dak. I just love his response in that setting where he was not very good against the Niners, and the team overall I felt like wasn't good. And then this is a big spot, Monday Night Football on the road versus a premier quarterback who everyone says is better than you, and you outplay them. That to me is impressive. And Dak Prescott stepped up. I felt like CeeDee Lamb stepped up. I felt like Tony Pollard in the receiving game did some things. I felt like the offensive line didn't play their best game, and Dak actually was able to overcome it. Brandon Cooks made some key catches. He needs to be more involved. I've been saying this for 3 or 4 weeks. He needs to be more involved. The guy can still play, and especially down the field. You need to use him to stretch the field. He is a vertical threat, still has great speed. Need to get him down the field more, not just on stop routes. Michael Gallup needs to be less involved. I want to see more Jalen Tolbert. I want to see more Jalen Ferguson. I want to see more Turpin out there. I want to see more of these other guys instead of always Michael Gallup getting 11 targets a game and catching 3 of the passes. Defensively, they really responded well. I thought they made a lot of key stops. I thought they stopped the run exceptionally well, which was a weakness before. Gilmore made key plays in the game. The safeties were awesome. The young kid Bell was awesome. DeMarcus Lawrence was awesome. A lot of good things from the defense this week, the way they played at number 8. At number 7, the Baltimore Ravens, with the potential to move up. Huge game for the Ravens at home against the Lions. I think they will beat the Lions. That's kind of a bold prediction and maybe a spoiler for my picks this week, but it's a good spot for them at home, and they're playing a team that, and the Lions being super hyped. So this can really prove if the Ravens are as good as I think they can be. They haven't fulfilled their potential yet, but Lamar Jackson is playing MVP football, and if he beats the Lions, he could launch himself into the MVP conversation. He is so good, and I don't think he gets enough credit for how good he is playing. The receiving core, I think, is starting to figure it out. Zay Flowers, I think, could have a huge back half of this season. I think Nelson Aguilar's been making some plays when he's not dropping the ball. Rashad Bateman has been bad. But Odell Beckham feels like if he can stay healthy, can make 2 or 3 nice catches every week. That can really make a difference. Mark Andrews is the engine. The O-line is good. The run game is solid. The defense is exceptional. Really smart defense. Love the way they play. And Roquan is the man in the middle that's making it all run. So at number 7, Ravens have elite ceiling. At number 6, the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins have a great offense. Best offense in the NFL. I've seen some people rank them as the best team in the NFL. They haven't played anyone. That's my problem. The only team they've played is the Bills, and they lost by a lot. So I want to see them play a good team. They've beaten all the worst teams in the NFL. Like, you go down the list of teams they've beaten, the Giants, the Panthers, the Patriots, etc. They have beat up on the worst teams in the league. So I want to see them play a good team. They will this week in the Eagles. That's all I'm really going to say, other than Tyreek Hill might be the greatest of all time. At number 5. Sorry, where's number 5? Oh, I made a mistake. At number 5 is the Buffalo Bills, but it says number 4. Don't mind that. At number 5 is the Buffalo Bills. Sorry about that, guys. But the Bills are number 5. So I had my questions. Also, there was a spoiler for number 4, but I think people knew that was coming. But the Buffalo Bills are my number 5 because I just have questions about how they played against the Giants. That back-to-back bad performances. They played bad against Jacksonville post Tre'Davious White injury. Then Matt Milano goes down. Daquan Jones goes down. They don't play well against the Giants. The offense didn't play well against the Giants. So we'll see, man. We'll see. They still have Josh Allen. They still have Stephon Diggs. But currently, the way the roster is and the injuries they've had, I don't see them as a contender right now. I really don't. Even though they're at number 5. I'm still giving them the respect because they didn't lose. But they're my number 5. At number 4, the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions are a complete football team right now. They have one of the best defenses. I think they rank 3rd in DVOA. They're one of the best offenses. I think they rank 2nd or 3rd. Could be wrong about that, but complete team. Jared Goff's playing well. They're running the ball, except against the Bucs. O-line is phenomenal. Receiving core got a spark in Jamison Williams. And it feels like every single one of their receivers makes plays every week. Laporta makes a few catches a week. St. Brown makes a few 12 catches a week. You got Jamison making a couple big plays. Then you've got Raymond stepping in. You've got Reynolds making plays over the middle of the field. Really complete receiving core right there if Jamison can become that vertical guy. And then maybe we're going to get Gibbs more involved. So looks like a really dangerous offense with Goff pulling the trigger and seeing the field the way he is. Defensively, just playing way better than I ever would have imagined. And that's all I'm really going to say. Just unbelievable stuff. Aiden Hutchinson is the engine. At number 3, the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs don't look as good as last year. I think that is pretty clear as day. Their offense has been very inconsistent, and it honestly looked pathetic at times against a Denver defense that has been the worst in NFL history to that date. I still believe in them. I still believe in Mahomes. I believe in Taylor Swift. I believe in the power of Taylor Swift, but I just need more. I need to see more against a better team. And we will see them play a good team. Not an elite team, but a good team in the Chargers. Typically, the Chargers play them well. If they lose this game because their offense doesn't do enough, I would be concerned. If they win this game, I would feel better about where they're at. I would honestly maybe move them up. But yeah, there's something missing offensively. The defense is good. There's no denying that. I don't think it's great, but it is very good. It's good enough to win a Super Bowl with, for sure. It's just the offense is not the same. So we'll see how they look against the Chargers. Probably the best team they've played since week 1. At number 2, the Philadelphia Eagles. Still going to put them at number 2, even though they haven't looked great. But they're kind of like Kansas City. They've lost one game, but they haven't played well most of the year. So that's kind of the way I look at it. I just think the Eagles are a little bit more complete than the Chiefs. Like, maybe Mahomes is better than Hurts for sure, but like, it feels like the O-line of the Eagles, the receivers of the Eagles, they have more playmakers than the Chiefs. And then defensively, they didn't have Darius Slay, they didn't have Jalen Carter, and they still played well against the Jets. It's just they had a weird game. They turned the ball over. Hurts doesn't turn the ball over that many times. They were stopped on 4th down. Eventually actually got called back. I think they had a strip sack for a fumble, 3 picks. I mean, when does that happen? 4 turnovers. So that doesn't happen with the Eagles, So I feel like this is a big game for the Eagles. Big bounce back spot at home versus Miami. Best offense in the NFL coming to town. How do they respond? Usually that Eagles team, it feels like they will respond. If Lane Johnson is really injured, that is serious, though, because they are not the same team without Lane Johnson. Number 1 team in the NFL, to me, still without a doubt, even though they lost, is the San Francisco 49ers. This almost felt like, I regret making the Niners a best bet just because it felt like a scheduled loss for the 49ers. Playing the best defense in the NFL on the road after a big win against Dallas in a game that really doesn't matter all that much. Playing Cleveland, an AFC North team, doesn't really have too much effect on them. But McCaffrey goes down in the middle of the game. Trent Williams goes down in the middle of the game. Deebo Samuel goes down in the middle of the game. The defense didn't have Dre Greenlaw. Yeah, the Cleveland Browns were missing pieces, but there was rain involved. It all favored Cleveland. And they, again, best defense in the league. The only one that can really match up to them and hold them under 24. So, the Niners, still the best team to me. The best combination of offense, coaching, and defense. That's why they're number 1. I wouldn't be too worried about the loss. We'll see how they bounce back on Monday night. I think it'll be pretty well. All right, guys. Those are my power rankings for Week 7. Let me know yours in the comment section below. It's Mitch. Gronk, spike the like button and subscribe for weekly NFL power rankings. Peace.